On your final drawing, you're going to need to start with your horizon line, and it can be close to the top of the paper, or it can be in the middle, or even close to the bottom. You will need to add a vanishing point. It does not have to be in the middle. It can be over to the side. You will need one building, a road, and something next to the road to help show space. So it could be a fence, telephone poles, a sidewalk, a row of trees. So you can see on mine, I added a couple of those. After those things are drawn, you are going to have to start to add details, textures in the ground, things next to your building to help give it character. So if you have a farm, maybe you have farm fields and animals, maybe you have sailboats, maybe you have a river, a bridge. You get to decide what those details are. After those are drawn in pencil, you're going to outline with black Sharpie marker, and then you will be ready to add color. So, things to think about towards the end of our 5th grade year in one of our last projects. We want to think about value. So that is going to be adding a light, barely touching the paper value towards the horizon line. As I come down to the bottom of the paper, I am going to start to press harder, giving more and more and more value. So as I get to the bottom here, I'm going to press super dark, and then I get lighter at the back. So as you can see, kids get confused with those telephone poles. I can see through them to the ground. So I am adding value of green grass, even though the telephone poles are right there. So that is adding some value. You want to try to make it gradual. You don't want to start light and then go dark. And see that really dark line there? If you have that happen, just keep going over that spot with different pressures to make it more gradual from light to dark. So I am doing that on the grass here. And I'm going to start thinking about color mixing. So value change and color mixing. So color mixing is taking colors that are next to each other on the color wheel and putting them together to make new colors. So I have dark green that I started with. I'm going to mix a little bit of light green in there. And again, light by the horizon line because it's so far away, and darker and darker and darker as I get towards the bottom. And as you can see, as I'm coloring this, I am coloring in different directions. That is a preference. If you want to color all one direction, you could do that. Down here, I think I need to overlap a little bit more of this darker green. So I'm going to continue to work thinking about value, change, and color blending. So as I do that, even in the house, if my house is brown, it might be lighter towards the horizon line and darker as it gets to the front. It's like that sun is hitting the side of the house and it's light to dark. When I get to the front of the house, it might be super dark because the sun is not touching it. So maybe that's where I use my darkest value. Not a totally finished project yet, but you can start to see what value is going to do to your drawing. It's going to make it look much more realistic and much more like a finished professional architectural drawing. So as you start to look at some of the examples on the smartboard, you will see that the ones that used value, darker to lighter, and that did some color blending and mixing really make their drawing stand out and just bring it to a much more difficult looking level. So I encourage you to use some value changing and to use some color blending in your finished drawing.